Math builds on itself, so much of what you do in this assignment won't be completely new. There will just be some little details to think about and to notice that are new, but a lot of this is something that will relate to things we've done before. So, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at different situations, and we're going to be looking at the graphs of the situation. So, for example, in this beginning scenario, there's a person named Marilyn, and she's selling t-shirts for her mom at festivals. So after each festival, she gives whatever money she raises to her mom. And what we're going to look at is a graph that shows Marilyn's earnings based on the number of t-shirts that she sells. So this graph along the x-axis, this is the number of t-shirts, and each line represents one shirt. 0 shirts, 1 shirt, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the lines on the y-axis, represents the dollars earned, and these lines go up by 10. So $0, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, and so on. So number of shirts on the x-axis, earnings on the y-axis. So your first goal is to look at the graph and analyze and interpret it. So look at this graph and list as many facts as you can about the scenario based on what you see. And then tie what you're talking about, what you write about, back to the situation with Marilyn and her t-shirts. So one thing, for example, I notice is that, let me just look at this graph. So I'm going to go up the graph, up the line, and I like to find the places where the line crosses these intersections. So I notice that right here, the line crosses an intersection. So I can notice that at this point that's on the line, the t-shirts that she sells are two t-shirts, and that when she sells 2 t-shirts, she raises $10, $20, $30. So I notice that when Marilyn sells 2 t-shirts, she raises $30. And that corresponds with the point to 30. This is the t-shirts, and then this is the money that she earns, the dollars. Now, when you're writing about what you notice about the graph, make sure that you don't only notice this, right? Include your own facts that you notice. So look at what you see, and you can write about facts that you can find in the graph, and you can also write about things you notice, and you can also write about things that you wonder. So I know the instructions say facts, but you don't have to just write about facts. You can write about facts you notice in the graph, things you notice, or things you wonder about. So once you do that part, the facts you notice and things you wonder about, you'll go down here and you'll think about the origin. Now the origin is 0.00. So the point you're talking about when you're thinking about the origin is this point right here. So for the next question, what you're going to be choosing an answer for is, what's the meaning of the origin? So you'll have these possibilities, and you're going to decide which one of these situations fits the 0.00 the best. So which one of these facts is based on the point 0, 0. So read over the choices and then choose the choice that is the correct one. Then this next part is kind of new. So for this next part, you're going to be writing a function, and it's going to be taking a slightly different form than what we wrote last week. So you're going to write a function, E of t, to model Marilyn's earnings given the number of t-shirts she sells. So basically what you're doing is you're writing a linear equation like we did last week. But instead of starting your equation with y equals, you're going to start it with E of t equals. And you've seen this a little bit, but it's been a couple weeks. So basically the E of t represents output, just like y represents output. And instead of using x as a variable, so instead of using x, we're going to use the variable t, which makes sense in this situation because we're selling t-shirts. So t makes more sense than x to use as a variable in this scenario. So in this function box down at the bottom of this page, you're going to be writing, you can type it, I'm going to write it here. You're going to be writing E of t equals, and then you're going to put some number here. I'd like you to look at the graph and figure out what number is appropriate for how much a t-shirt costs in Marilyn's store. And then you're going to, after the number, you're going to put the variable t, because this number is what Marilyn is charging for each t-shirt. Now another way to think of this number is slope. So when you go up to the graph and you're looking at the graph, the number that you're putting right here is the slope of the graph. So if you take the 2 points that we thought of before, the origin, and then that point that I liked, what is the slope between those 2 points? What's the vertical change between these 2 points? Going from 0 to 30? And what's the horizontal change? Going from 0 to 2. So remember that you're going to be calculating your vertical change over your horizontal change, and then simplify that fraction, and that will give you the slope, which is also the amount that Marilyn charges per t-shirt.